OSU went into hostile territory against a talented and angry Utah team and hung with the heavily favored Utes for most of the game. We'll discuss the inspired performance by the Beavs defense. Also, we'll talk with Coach about the team's expectations as they return home for a date with the Bruins. The Beavs start the final third of their first season with Coach Gary Anderson. Beavers Inside the Huddle starts now. Welcome into the Flat Tail Brewing Beavers Inside the Huddle studio, along with the legendary Beavs Steve Priest. I'm Dusty Hara, and we'll be with you for the next half hour, joined by Coach Anderson in just a few minutes to preview the game against UCLA and take a look back against that game against Utah, and that's where we want to start, that game down in Salt Lake City. Steve, what were your initial thoughts of the Beavs going down there and really putting up a fight against that good Utes team?
Well, my initial thoughts were it was going to be just like the last few games. They started out on defense and just really didn't do much. They started out and they'd do some things right. They'd have the gaps covered, and then all of a sudden the contain wouldn't work. They'd do some things right. In this case, you're seeing the running game on offense, but there were a lot of special things they did that they weren't expecting on offense. Our quarterback showed some things, but the defense just didn't take hold the way it was supposed to. Travis Wilson had a good night. They got beat on a simple wheel route. It looked like just business as usual. The Beavers are in trouble.
And that was to start the game, the opening drive, and you just sit there and you go, oh boy. You know, we saw 2 pass attempts on that drive. The first one was a scramble because Oregon State got good pressure on him.
Yep.
The second one was in for a touchdown. And when you look at the first drive, I think people always go, oh man, this is going to be indicative of the entire game.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case, because responding with the first drive offensively was Oregon State's offense, which is something that we've seen them come out in the first few weeks of the year and really have solid drives to start games. That's been missing over the last couple of weeks, but it's something you wanted to take a look at as we head over the In Focus Mondo Pad, because it's collaboration that works.
And you remember, this is a Utah defense that probably front 7 is as good as anybody in the Pac-12, and they've been playing like it all year. They can do so many things that make Utah special, and it's what they build their team on, is this defense. Take a look here, and I want to point out Nick Mitchell. On the offensive side, Nick, the quarterback, he has been, every time he makes a run across here, and he had the play before this, he had run and they'd run the outside zone. He's running out in this area and faking, and he's looking at what's going on. He's very poised. He's very calm. Let's watch what he does here now. He fakes the read. He runs outside right where it's vacated, and all he's got to catch him is a defensive end. He gets a quick 16. And then the creativity of the Beavers in this first series. They come in, they immediately change things up. Now, this is Storm Woods, folks. He's the running back. This is Victor Bolden. Now, take a look at this particular play. There's no null in here, but there's 2 backs. Let's see what happens here.
You know, as a skinny guy, keep an eye on that guy, too. Because he makes one heck of a block here.
You're right. Nathan Guyton, and look at that outside play and the good speed out there from Victor Bolden. Victor had a great day running the football. He was super. In the third situation here, this is, again, just different things. This is number 24. That's Storm Woods. And he's in the quarterback position. Null again blocking for him. Coach decided that this was a team that you couldn't go inside against a real good front 7. So get to the outside again. Look at this play. Outside, good blocking all the way around. Notice where the Beavers are in this situation. They're inside that red zone, and had the Beavers scored right here, it may have changed the appearance of the ball game. They come out 14-6 instead of 14-14 after this half.
You know, and one thing you mentioned, that you couldn't run against the inside. We saw a concerted effort by Oregon State to get outside of the edges, and something that Coach Anderson said after the game, after the great performance that we saw from Ryan Nall just a week before, being that power-type running back, they felt that it suited the game plan, because a lot of people were confused on, hey, Ryan Nall gets you a boatload of yards in 1 week, and then you go back to him. He's not that kind of back that'll stretch you out to the outside.
No, and there were 5 guys in the front 7 for Utah. 5 guys, front 7, who are going to be in the NFL. I think it was good planning. You know, the Oregon State staff was so familiar with Utah, it really helped and gave them a good game plan.
And one thing that we saw when you have the offense working like it was right there, it started to feed the defense, too. And after that initial drive, Oregon State's defense really really put the clamps down on the Utah team that, as we saw, put up 60 points against Oregon and they've been scoring at will against everybody else.
Well, they came out and they were all of a sudden attacking people. They were very aggressive. The front line, there were a lot of people. You see young Jonathan Willis come on your TV, and there's a sack right there by Barnett. It was really an excellent effort, and it carried on for the rest of the game. I mean, the Beavers took 174 yards against them in the first quarter and 10 first downs, only 190 the rest of the game, and 10 more first downs.
And, you know, that is how much of that do you think goes with the familiarity of Kalani Sitake with what Utah wants to do offensively?
Well, there has to be a lot of it, actually. The familiarity is not going to be the same for any other team this year, but the familiarity works the other way, too. You know, it was just as much as a detriment because they know what Kalani does.
All right, we got a lot to get to as Coach Anderson will stop by and join the show next. We preview the UCLA Bruins heading to Research Stadium. And how about that other freshman quarterback? Seth Collins injured, Nick Mitchell. We'll talk to Coach Anderson about his performance in Week 1 as a starter. Welcome back into Beavers Inside the Huddle, along with Steve Priest, Dusty Heron. Joining us now live in Corvallis is the head coach of the Oregon State Beavers, Gary Anderson. Coach Anderson, thank you for taking a few minutes for us today. How you doing?
I'm doing okay, guys. You doing all right?
Doing fantastic.
Very much.
Coach, as we look back at the game in Utah last weekend, one of the most impressive performances that you had was under center. Nick Mitchell coming in for his first career start, and he looked like he had a command and control of the offense really from the opening drive. What were your impressions as you get to go back, watch film, and assess Nick's first start under center for you?
Well, I think exactly that is the key point. You know, Nick was very poised. He felt like looked like he was very comfortable. And when you talk to him, he obviously felt very comfortable. So I was very happy to see that. I think he made some big throws. It was a close ball game and a tough place to play. And he continually made some plays throughout the game. And it's never going to be perfect at the quarterback position. So we have to always remember that. And nor is anybody going to be perfect. But I think Nick came in and, you know, gave us the ability to be able to use our receivers the way that we need to be able to use our receivers as we move forward. And it's imperative as we go through these next 4 games, and hopefully there's a 5th one out there, because there's still that opportunity to get that done, and we're never going to lose sight of that. To truly have an offense and a core offense, and exactly this is who we are, what we believe in, you know, the gimmicks and the tricks and, you know, running the quarterback all over the place, it's not going to work. It's not going to get you in a position. We were where we were, and now we have to continue to grow forward. And Nick has really grown just in the last, I would say, 3 to 4 weeks of handling the offense and putting himself in a position to be where he is today, and obviously saw that with a couple weeks ago. We decided it was time for him to have an opportunity. So he's another freshman that's shown up and has continued to grow as he's been in this system. It's good to see, and excited about the future for him and what he can bring to us this week against the Bruins.
Coach, with Nick Mitchell, we've talked about his throwing, the mid-range he was very good on. We've talked about his composure and so forth. But the real surprise for me was the running. He ran the option well. He also ran the keeper very well. Looked like he knew exactly what he was going to, and I love the way he followed through with all his fakes on every one of your zones.
You know, he's faster than you think he is, and I think he runs the ball with great angles, which is great to see. He has some instincts there. That's something that we can talk about coaching, about getting to the second level and understanding how to leverage defenders or get what I can get and then get myself down, and that's a great asset for Nick. And I really believe this. You know, the coaches have done a great job of developing the offense, especially in this last game, of understanding what can we do to get ourselves into a position. Nick knew what the game plan was. He executed the game plan for the most part, did a nice job. And a lot of the credit's got to go to Coach Baldwin and Coach McGivern for putting themselves in the position, much like our defense right now. They're growing and developing, and, you know, it's you got some really good coaches here. And I'm proud of these guys. They've really ground through a tough season. We got some really good kids too, and Nick's one of them I'm very proud of.
Coach, the red zone. I know that one of the biggest things we've got to do is start scoring points, and it makes a big difference, field goals versus touchdowns. Coach Baldwin has a theory, that 70% factor he talks about all the time. The Beavers got 12 points out of 28 in the red zone that were possible at 43%. Coach wants 70. What do we do to, besides just being creative, to continue to improve in the red zone and get points?
And Steve, you're exactly right. We just can't sit back and pretend that we are going to trick you in the red zone and get ourselves in a position. And I don't think the shifts and the motions and that stuff, that's a core of our offense. Those aren't tricks and gimmicks, but you still have to have the identity. And the fact of the matter, in this last game against Utah, it was tough sledding for us in the middle of their defense. If you cannot run the football, you're going to have a real hard time in the red zone. So we couldn't. In between the tackle box, we flat couldn't do it. We tried 12 times for 11 yards. We had one more that basically gave us an 8-yard quarterback scramble, which was in the middle of the field. So we couldn't move the line of scrimmage. I don't care who your running back is. You're not going to get yards there. And our ability to be able to get the ball to the sides of the defense was impressive. But in the red zone, that closes down because now those safeties are sitting at 8 yards and you're outnumbered by one on both sides of the defense. So you have to be able to stick some nice passes in there. You have to have a pass game that understands the concepts of what defenses are going to do to you, and you have to be able to beat the blitz. And until we can do that, we will not be successful in the red zone. I think that comes with the responsibility of the coaches, and it comes with the responsibility of the young men to really understand it takes special players to make special plays in the red zone. Just like it does on defense, it takes special players to stop offenses from scoring in the red zone when the field is condensed on both sides.
You know, Coach, in going to that, I mean, you mentioned it wasn't just a running the ball into his particular area and just getting it up front. A lot of people, you know, after what they saw from Ryan Nall the week before, were saying, hey, we want more of that guy. Is it more of just a matchup issue as to why Nall didn't get the ball, especially up the middle?
Yeah, we felt like we wanted to get Ryan in those situations in the throw game, which we got a couple of those. But again, you know, it goes back to what I said earlier. If you can't knock him off the ball, we can bring back Larry Zonka, who's my favorite all-time player in the NFL, and I used to love to watch that guy run between the tackles. And but he's not going to gain a yard in that setting. It's not going to happen. And so it is what it is. We are where we are. We will always try to make adjustments that we think are best for this football team and be able to score points. And obviously, we have a lot of faith in Ryan, being able to run in between those tackles and be very effective. His time will be there as we continue to move forward. And, you know, we got smart coaches. They know what they're doing. I understand that we want Ryan to be able to get the ball, but we also want to put him in a position to be successful by doing that. And look what Victor did with the run last week. When we ran to the edges in this last game, my calculations, we averaged 5 yards per carry. Inside, we averaged less than 1 unless you include the quarterback run games. So that right there would give you an idea of exactly, you know, coaches made a pretty good decision in this game to get us to the edges of the defense.
Steve, you ever get run over by Larry Zonka at any point in your career?
I thought Coach was talking to me specifically. Yes. And again, that was one of those days when Coach was a little kid watching on TV.
We got a lot more to get to. Coach Anderson stays with us. We get keys to the game and preview the UCLA Bruins visit to Reser Stadium this weekend. Beavers Inside the Huddle continues with Coach Anderson. And welcome back into Beavers Inside the Huddle from the Flat Tail Brewing Studios. Dusty Hare along with Steve Priest and Coach Gary Anderson with us down in Corvallis as we are entering the final third of the season with UCLA heading to Reser Stadium this weekend.
Coach, UCLA played Colorado last week, and Colorado had one of those games on offense, 114 plays, 242 yards rushing. I think that's what struck me the most, because this could use a talented UCLA defense. We use that template as a way to compete with UCLA. Run the football, try to control the ball.
Yeah, I know. I think that's a recipe that we used last week against Utah, and we've already talked about it, but the run game was important to us. You said control the tempo. We need to control the clock, and we will not be a team that just tries to be a race car team and hustle up on the line and get down the field quickly. That's not who we are. Again, as we identify ourselves through the season, we get it. We know what we're going to be. We need to run the ball effectively, and it will be our goal again to be able to try to get some to the edges of the defenses and be effective competitive with our runners out there within Victor and Paul and Storm, obviously, but it's going to be imperative that we find a way to be able to, make some hay inside the tackle boxes with Ryan as we go through there. Hopefully we have the opportunity to do that this week, and we have to try. And if we have success doing that, then we will. Just like last week, we had very little success in the drop back pass area, and when we got to the outside edges of the defense and we were able to throw play action and boots and sprint outs, we were effective throwing the ball. We were not effective throwing the ball in drop back because we had less than 2 seconds most times to throw the ball. So we are where we are. We understand the situation that we're in. We want to be able to be a ball control team, but we have to understand what we can do and what we can't do, because just because you want to be something doesn't mean that you can be that. As we go forward, we'll look forward to those opportunities, but again, these coaches are doing a great job of putting the kids in the position to best give them the opportunity to win the game. And I think you're right, Steve. We have to be able to run the ball, have some ball control, move the pocket, throw the ball down the field, and give our gifted wide receivers a chance to make some special plays. And then when they're given that opportunity, they have to make those special plays.
Let me emphasize real quickly one thing. 2 seconds to throw last week was the main, that was all you had. So you had to throw the quick step, you had to throw the fade. And you just mentioned getting down the field this week. UCLA doesn't have what Utah has. That's an opportunity in the passing game then as well.
It is exactly right. We need to be able to get in and hold up in pass protection and give ourselves a shot. And if that means sometimes we have to have 7-man protections with 2 or 3-man routes, then that's exactly what we have. And it was the throws that were made in that last game, the one that we missed one right down the middle of the field there at the end, and everybody looks and says, oh man, we'd like to have that one back. Jordan's wide open and Nick just kind of missed him on his back shoulder. The fact of the matter is when you have somebody hitting you in your ear hole and somebody hitting in your left knee and folding you over in a second and a half, it's not easy to throw that ball down the field. So we have to be able to protect the passer better. We have to be able to hold up against those situations, and we need to expect more out of ourselves. So as we grow forward and continue down these lines, we'll challenge these kids. We'll challenge ourselves as coaches, and nobody challenges themselves more than we do as coaches, more than I do, I promise you that much. But we do hold the kids to a high level of accountability to get better, and we expect performances to continue to move forward as we go through this season, and nobody wants that to happen more than our kids, I promise you.
One thing on the other side of the ball, you look at the freshman quarterback coming in to Reser Stadium with Josh Rosen and the UCLA Bruins. One thing that your guys' defense has been phenomenal at this year is getting to the quarterback himself. What have you seen from this freshman in Josh Rosen that really pops off the page, and his partner in the backfield, Paul Perkins, their running back?
Well, the Perkins kid is special. Josh has done a very nice job. Perkins is an elite running back. There's no question about it. His stop and miss, make you miss is very, very impressive. His ability to break the long run is impressive. So he's what I would call an elite tailback in this league. Not a good one, but not a great one, but an elite one as we continue to move forward, and I'm sure he'll show that through his career. Josh has done a very nice job as a freshman quarterback coming in. I think the offense he's very much at peace with the throws he has to make. He throws a very nice deep ball. A lot of their throws are based off of a run-pass option. He's a very experienced quarterback. He's been trained the right way through high school, obviously, to be into this setting because he runs a lot of the read zone, pull it down, and throw the ball off of that. Many people sit there and say that's an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to do. You've got to read coverages. You've got to understand where linebackers are, safeties are, rotations, how the defensive front is coming at you, and so on. So he's done a nice job as a young freshman quarterback. He has some talented kids back there he's throwing the ball to. So it's a great challenge, and it's going to be the same old deal. We're going to go out, put a defensive game plan together that we think will work very well. I think those kids will hold their own, but at the end of the day, if you're going to win games in the Pac-12, you have to score touchdowns. Period. End of story. Explanation point.
Coach Anderson, as you guys head into this one against UCLA, any final thoughts before we cut you loose?
Yeah, just briefly, real quick. You know, if we can do a good job on special teams like we've done the last few weeks, we can score in the red zone, and we can start fast on defense. We've got a tremendous opportunity to get a victory. I'll leave it at that. Go Beavs.
Amen.
Coach Gary Anderson joining us live in Corvallis. Thank you very much, Coach. And remember, if you have questions that you want to get to Coach, hashtag BeaversFB. We give you our keys to the game coming up next. As we get set for UCLA and Oregon State this weekend, it is time to unveil our keys to the game, brought to you by your local Northwest Honda dealers. Let's see here. Where do we start? Yak for receivers. Yards after catches, the yak yards. We heard Coach Anderson say they only had 2.5 seconds to get the ball out of the hand of the quarterback every single time. Pressure Rosen. Josh Rosen looks like a different quarterback for UCLA when he's got pressure on him. Beavs need to make sure that they get their D-line on him. And then finish drives, get 6, not 3.
Well, we're due for winning with these keys. We're due to hit all 6 of them, so let's try it. My side of a defense, I think you got to stop that great running back, Paul Perkins. You stop him, and then after you stop him, you're able to put pressure. Beavers used a lot more defense last week than they have been. They put pressure on. They'll do it more this week. Offensively, we talked to Coach about it. You just simply got to run. You got to possess the football. Hey, if Colorado gets 114 plays, the Beavers can get 80. That's for sure. On special teams, my special teams commented, and my key is no field goals, no special teams. The Beavers need touchdowns, not field goals.
You know what? You said we're going to hit all 6 one of these days. Instead of having 6, we just meshed them into 3.
Is that pretty much what we did?
We got 2 of the same ones, or actually 4. But yeah. I think we got a better chance to do it if we just have the same ones.
Brilliant.
Coming up on Comcast Sports and our football coverage, Ducks, hashtag Ducks football, hashtag Beavers football. As you see, Saturday morning, 9 a.m., CSN Game Day, post-game live, and then Beavers Inside the Huddle next Thursday, 8 o'clock, right here on Comcast Sportsnet.